I think I did it. I think I did it. Good morning. All right. Perfect. I'm very proud of myself. Good morning. Look at all the people. Oh, cool. All right. So, welcome. This is my space. One second. Okay. Cool. Got it. Cool. All right. Happy Sunday or Saturday or whatever it is. Saturday. So what I'm going to be doing today, I thought, was kind of talking about what what I've been working on the last few weeks. It's a difficult time right now for everybody, obviously, but for artists, it's could be a really great time to create. So I've been trying to really be productive and push myself in all different directions and whatnot. So I was going to show y'all kind of what I've been working on through all this and kind of some of my processes. I'm not a huge fan of demos. Some people are cut out for that kind of thing. Some people aren't. I'm one of those people that's not. Some people might disagree, but I'm not a huge fan of demos. So I'm going to show y'all some new stuff that I've been working on, if that's good with y'all. So the last week, I've really been working on works on paper, pastel, colored pencil, which I love. I haven't done colored pencil since college, and I'm so happy to be doing that again. But I've really been working on pastel, which is not something that I've really actually ever done. I hope the lighting in here is okay. So I'm going to show y'all some of my, how do I turn it around? Oh wait, there we go, got it. So here's some of the new, I kind of taped them up on the wall so y'all could see us. But some of the new pastel work on paper, and all of this is just new pastel on Strathmore drawing paper, which I love. Some of them are fun. I love my clowns, as everybody obviously knows. Some African mask. I love doing masks. And of course I love doing birds. So these are a lot of fun. I've been kind of fumbling my way through them. A few of them are at the frame shop right now, but I've kind of been fumbling my way through them and really enjoying pastel. Show y'all what I use. I just use the Prismacolor New Pastel. I love Prismacolor. It's my favorite brand. It's also what I use for my colored pencils to do the really photorealistic colored pencils, which I love. This is a graphite drawing that I'm really fond of. I've done this clown before. So I did the graphite drawing, and that's on Stonehenge paper, which is the really, really good stuff. Expensive stuff, but it's good. It's worth it. And then I did a little one, which I love. So he's cute, Back to the birds. Do a lot of birds. That's the first pastel bird. But then I'm working on these. This is oil. Not 100% finished yet. Still got to do a few little things. Might add a few more. So that one's fun. Someone's asking about the piece that y'all posted. So I did this a few weeks ago. This is acrylic with just pure palette knife, which is a challenge. My aunt was a painter on my father's side, and she only painted in palette knife. When I would go to her house, I would paint with her. I couldn't use a brush. I could only use a knife. So I actually own only 2 palette knives. So I did it with that. And if you've never painted with just pure palette knife, I suggest it because it's a lot of fun and it's extremely challenging, but it is fun. So if you haven't done that, do that. I'm also working on some more colorful birds and really trying to push myself with color. This is acrylic as well. And this is a lot of palette knife, a lot of dripping, a lot of water. I think it's fun to really just let it kind of paint itself. He's cute. So kind of maybe I just missed the beach. I think that might have something to do with it, but yeah. This is some older work. So you kind of see, these are both 2017, late 2016, early 2017, and this is late 2019, 2020. So color, woohoo. This is oil enamel, which is an artist grade enamel paint that's really shiny and drippy and fun. And I love that. So it's another example of kind of throwing in all the imagery all together for one thing, and just kind of seeing what happens. I always felt like I was never properly taught composition, so I just kind of throw it all in and just see what happens. Here's another one that I'm working on that's kind of fun. Wayne Thiebaud's a huge favorite of mine, so kind of hard to resist not painting, cake and pie and all that fun stuff. So yeah, somebody asked me, let me switch this around. Okay. Hi. Someone asked me, the clowns. So my shrink says, no, I'm kidding. I have always been interested in them. I've always done them. A huge fan of the circus, obviously. And I don't know, I just love them. I remember both my aunt and my grandmother, who were both painters, painted them. And they always told me that they're if you can't do a portrait or whatever, they're really fun to do because they can look however you want them to look. I don't know, but I really enjoyed them. Someone asked about the Walt Coon from the museum, and that was something I was going to talk about. I did this just for y'all. I did a small study of a Walt Coon, another clown portrait that he did, I think 1924, I believe. So this is just a charcoal, but I really love that. Trying to do his version of American modernism, which I love. And another thing about the Walt Coon that the museum has, I love how they're not, I don't really consider them portraits. I consider them characters. So they're less people and more players in his own kind of one-act plays. And that's another reason that I really love his stuff, because they're slightly off. They're not all the way there. There's something about them that has a little bit of a menace. There's something kind of lurking underneath that I really like, and he does that really well. Someone asked about the abstracts. These are some abstract little drawings. I kind of do these sometimes as warm-ups, real quick in the abstract sketchbook, which is just, falling apart. I love doing abstract work on paper. So I think they're fun warm-ups. I don't see why an artist who can paint realistically can't do abstracts every once in a while. If you disagree, well, sorry. So yeah, I don't know. These are fun. I just do these and kind of, I rarely keep them sometimes, but I think they're fun. Someone asked about the colored pencil. Give me 1 second. I started a new sketchbook that I'm only going to do colored pencil in. Let me find a good one. Wait a minute. I love all these questions. It's like my birthday. Okay, here we go. So this is pure colored pencil. This is kind of a looser application, and then this is a more tighter application. And I love doing colored pencil because you can do it really loose, but then you can really, really tighten it up and make it somewhat photographic. After I do it, I go in, usually with the head of a pencil or a pen, and add little areas of white acrylic paint. My professor at Troy, Russell Everett, who was brilliant when it came to colored pencil, used to do that, and I don't consider that cheating. But if you're doing colored pencil, you have to have a pencil sharpener, and preferably a good one, because that's the beauty of colored pencil, is that they have to be razor sharp. So if not, you're just gonna make a mess. Let's see what else I got in here. Oh yeah, got on a fish kick. I don't know, don't ask me. You create your reference or are these anymore? So when it comes to references, I use a lot of found photography, like a lot of people, and I use my own photography. And let me get the, okay, so this is one of my boxes of random images. Some I've taken, some I've found, some I've doctored. I love doing collage and cutting out and using, like, all right, here we go. So this was the original painting that I did a while back. Put it on Photoshop, printed it out, and then that became that. That's actually that same size. So that's always fun. I love the idea of doing a painting, printing it out, cutting it out, making it into something else. That's an oyster painting, Emlyn. That was really fun. That was an older one while I was in New Orleans. I always said when I lived in New Orleans that I wouldn't paint oysters, and what did I do? So, but I love using found imagery. I think that that's perfectly acceptable, especially in this day and age of Instagram. Like this is an image that I took, and then I went and I photoshopped this to make this much darker, because I love all of these shadow shapes. So as you can see, that is becoming that. So that, it's not finished yet. This is oil in palette knife, by the way. So that's oil paint with just palette knife, no brush. So that will become this at some point. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's fun to kind of do collage, and I can go to town with a hot glue gun. So, oh yeah, here's another oyster photograph. So that'll, this would make a good one. So, yeah. Yeah, I use a lot of photography. A lot of the older clowns come from vintage circus posters and whatnot, advertisements. I always try to find advertisements that are at least 100 years old, and that's fun. Obviously the Kit Kat clock, which is fun, but I like pulling imagery from everywhere and then pulling it together and abstracting it in some shape, form, or fashion. I love using anatomical textbooks, which I don't know. I'll show you one that I did. This is my living room. Welcome. This is a painting in acrylic that I did from an anatomical textbook. And that's acrylic with just black and white. I love using just black and white because pure white, pure black, thin down creates this lovely grayish brown. And and I just love it. And then when you pull the white over the black, it creates a blue. So I don't know. I love that painting. That's a good one. So yes. Oh yeah, that's a painting of my grandmother's. Older painting, but still. Okay, so let's go back in here. 10:15. All right. So, any other questions? Your studio is right off the living room. You drop in the studio. Yes, day. No, I don't do work hours. I I'm one of those people that I'll start working on something and I will work on it until I get to a point. I can't stop. It's like I'm on Adderall. I just can't. I keep going. Because if not, I won't be able to sleep. I've gotten up before in the middle of the night, like, I know exactly what I can do now to fix that, and go in and boom, fix it. Canvas. I add gesso. This is a gesso question. I add gesso when I paint on wood, because you really should do that, especially if you do oil. If you invest in good quality canvas from an art store, there's no point in gessoing it, really. Linen, yeah, you need to. But if you get a good cotton duck canvas from an art store, good quality, you get what you pay for, and you don't have to gesso it. I don't see the point. Some people do it. Some people swear by it. I do gesso paper. I love to gesso paper. That's really fun. Would I teach a class for beginners? Ooh, I probably wouldn't be the best teacher. I'd yell too much. But no, I love gesso itself. I love painting with it. When I was in art school at Troy, when we would run out of white paint, we would use gesso, and it was fun. There's a chalkiness to it that's really beautiful. You just really have to do layers. Modeling paste. I have used some modeling paste. I'm not a huge fan of it. I just prefer heavy body acrylic. One second. This is my favorite Liquitex. If you use acrylic, you use rather Liquitex, heavy body, or golden acrylics. The fluid acrylics, I don't like at all, but the heavy body stuff is really good. My favorite thing to do, strictly back on my favorite thing to do is to add a little bit of sand, just a touch to this, and it really does some beautiful stuff. I love doing that. You were working strictly black and white for this much color. A lot of different reasons. Sometimes the color gets drained out of life. So, but no, it's fun to experiment back with color. I did color all through college, completely. Crazy colors, spray paint, neon, all kinds of stuff. So I've always loved doing color, and my grandmother always said that if you paint in black and white, it would teach you everything you need to know about color, which was true, I think. So my grandmother had lots of good one-liners. These people waving. I've never gone live before. It's really fun. Eyes. So I started doing eyes. Let me show you one. I think I have one. Well, actually, wait a minute. Yeah. This is actually my favorite eye. One of my favorite eyes that I've ever really done. I love that one. That one. This is oil, and I just love how that turned out. I just love that one. So that really pops. I love doing eyes. They were one of the first things my grandmother ever taught me how to paint. She had a drafting table that lit up, and she first drew, she did it on tracing paper, and she drew the skull, and then she drew on another piece of paper, she drew the eyes, and on the other piece of paper she drew the face, and she laid them on top of each other, and it kind of showed me how to do anatomical stuff. But I love doing eyes because they're really great exercises in light play. and can really, you know, they're very challenging. So I think if you've never done them before, definitely try to do them, because they're much more complex than I think people realize. So they're really good practice. So I am far from professional, but thank you. I try my best. I'm also slightly a hoarder, so I keep all kinds of images that, I mean, I have some images that are still left over from college, and, you know, something you might like years ago and you might not be able to paint, you should still hold on to it, because, you know, years later you'll be able to do it. So I found images that I thought I could never do then that now I can do easily. So they kind of come back at you. So I always try to hold on to everything. First paper Madison wrote me. Yes, it was. Slightly over, yes. So I have one. Let me find the one little one. I hate showing unfinished work, but these are some little eye studies. This is acrylic, just on a little deep canvas. Fun little exercises. And then this is a tondo, which, if you don't know what a tondo is a round canvas. Learn something every day. So this is a oil eye that I've started. I've not finished. It's very rough. I had to do it and let it dry. I can do portrait work, yes. It's a matter of will. So, but this is fun. I use liquid when I do oil because I love to layer, and I'm very, very impatient, if y'all haven't noticed. And so with liquid, if you've never used liquid before, I highly suggest it, because it will dry overnight, especially if you do kind of thin applications. I'll show you. So this is liquid. It looks gross. I always gotta shake it up. And this is a oil medium that you add to the paint. It's kind of a jelly. I hate that word. But it makes your oil paint dry pretty much overnight, and you can do layers and layers. It does flatten it out a little bit. But if you're an oil painter and you are impatient like I am, then I would suggest using this, because it's really lovely. And it's non-toxic, and it doesn't smell bad. So, someone asked about tools, brushes. So yeah, these are really all the brushes that I use. This is it. I'm not one of those people that has, you know, an infinite supply of art supplies. I use what I like. Some of these I've had for years. Some of them are fairly worse for wear, but, you know, good is good. But yeah, I just love doing, somebody asked what this is. I love doing ink. So this is one of my Chinese ink brushes. I actually bought this in China. But this is really fun to do the big gestural ink drawings, which I unfortunately do not have any right now. So the elephant inspiration goes back to the circus, and because I spent some time in Zambia and saw them, and they were amazing, and they're very beautiful, and they're somewhat difficult to draw because they're very, you know, awkward and boxy and heavy and whatnot. So I love doing them, and they're really beautiful when you do them in charcoal. So I love them. Very rough texture, skin, so they're fun to paint in a very kind of agitated way. I love painting elephants, and I wish I still had some, but I don't. So I guess that's a good thing. So we're at, what time are we? We're at 10:25. So if y'all have any questions, hit me. The personal, the better. Nudes. I do not have any nudes at the moment. Do not, no. But they're a lot of fun, obviously. And that's the best teacher. Someone asked about portraits again. No, I don't find clowns scary. Of course not. What do I love about? All right, what do I love about Zelda's work? I love how she painted. A lot of people really kind of look over her paintings, but I don't. I've always found them really beautiful. And she had a beautifully tragic life. And that really comes out through her paintings. And yeah, I just love her work. I love artists that other people look over. Sargent, I mean, if you've ever painted the figure, or if you've ever painted at all, I mean, Sargent's, the greatest portrait painter to ever live. The Venus of Willendorf, Goddess of Willendorf, art history. I love statuary, obviously, but I love statuary from all cultures, every shape, form, and fashion. I love doing Buddhas too. So I love the contrast of the Venus of Willendorf and a Roman bust with a Kenyan mask. I love the idea of Southern modern day artist. John Alexander is my favorite, if you could say, living Southern artist. He is absolutely brilliant. Museum needs one of his. Biggest influence. That changes all the time, but I do have a lot. I think dead artists, that's impossible to say. Living artists, I love people like John Alexander. Yang Pei-ming is a big favorite of mine. If you're not familiar with his work, you should be. He's a Chinese, French artist. Massive work, beautiful stuff. Hey, Jerry Siegel. We're both from Selma. Yes, Angie, John Alexander, the best. He's from Beaumont, Texas, but he lives in New York. Has a studio in Beaumont, I believe, still. What's something you'd love to do that you haven't done yet? A mural. A big one. Who do I hate? Oh, I don't hate anybody. No, yeah, that's not true. Whose art makes no sense? Oh, you don't want me to answer that. I'll get in trouble. Yes. I will paint a building, Carol, when I find one. This has been so much fun. We need to do this more often. Maybe I should start doing this. Yes, I have taught classes. Yes, I will teach classes again. It just depends on what. Some things are easier to teach than others, really. Yes, I'm glad y'all could come see my world and you didn't run in horror. Some people do. Mid-afternoon chats. Oh, perfect. That's exactly what I'll do. Favorite piece? No idea. No idea. Don't tempt me. Fun. All right, well, it is 10:30, and I think that means that I have to go. So this has been a lot of fun. I loved every single one of y'all. This has been so much fun. Thank you, Montgomery Museum, for letting me do this. Hope we can do it again. So let me make sure I do it. So if you have any other questions, just message me on my other Instagram, on my Instagram. And if you're not following me, you should be. But, so yeah, if you have any other questions, just let me know. It's good to see y'all, and happy painting.